Hello and welcome everybody to Dan Litvak and Walter chatting non-duality. Welcome, Dan. Oh,
Welcome, Walter.
all right. So you can tell people you got Dan Litvak dot non-duality at gmail.com. And so you have a mailing list. Yep.
I do
Yeah.
have a Gmail and a mailing list. I don't have much else, but I do have that. So yeah, good.
All right, cool. Anything else you want to
No,
plug
and I
or
guess well, if we're doing I do have a YouTube channel also. So that's about what I have.
awesome. Yeah, it's a great YouTube channel. A lot of talks of various links on different subjects pertaining to non-duality. And that's where I got most of my questions was just from watching your videos and jotting things down. So maybe the first question would be, what is just this?
Yeah, let's start with the easy ones. Yeah, just this is what well, yeah, when you try to answer that, the first thing that comes up is another word, right? So it's the thing that there aren't words for, and this there seems to be an experience of being me that fills the whole everything with words, and is makes this into a story. So you could say just this is just whatever is here without a story hanging on to it. We the me experience, what we call just being me, living is always living life, right? Living a life. So it's kind of missing in a way just this, because I only see the story of just this. I see just this as a story, and as words, and as an object, like something that I'm separate from, and something that I'm doing something with, right? And in the meantime, there is just this, right, which doesn't have any of that stuff. And that's what I would say. That's what there is. That's what you are. That's what everything is. So yeah, there's nothing to do with it. So it's just, you really don't have it just this. There isn't just this, but just this comes up because there seems to be something that isn't just this. There seems to be the story of me, my life. And yeah.
How about identification with the dream?
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what identification is. We could look into that, but this me experience. Well, you could say it's a kind of a dream. It's a good way to there. It's not like anybody's dreaming, because there isn't anyone to have a dream, right? But there is this experience that I'm me, which is sort of like a dream. There's this dream character of me. There's just it appears as but it's a dream because it's always, again, that's that story, I guess, that I was just talking about. It always shows up as a story, as a form, and also it's got emotion to it. There's a it's like me in the middle of the dream, moving toward trying to get something in the dream, because me, looking at what is just this. Well, what is just this is just what is, that isn't going anywhere. It isn't, there's not it doesn't need anything, right? But in the dream, there's always a story of something that something me that needs and is moving toward getting what I need in the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And it ties into, you said there isn't any better.
Well, yeah. So there we go again. Yeah, we could just keep throwing these things out and it would give us more, like it gives us a new angle that like reflects back onto what this is. Like, I mean, just this isn't better or worse. What actually just, you know, Andreas would use maybe sometimes the word natural reality. I like that because which all these words are problems, right? Because then you go, well, what's natural? What's reality? It doesn't mean anything. But there isn't any better or worse. The idea of better or worse comes out of this perspective of this dreamer, this me, who's in this world, this separate world, and trying already just trying to get fulfilled, right? Get that thing. And so in that story, there has to be better or worse. You know, everything is, you know, labeled and understood in terms of what is better and what is worse and what is good and what is going to be useful and valuable. And all that stuff just comes from that perspective of being this separate me position. And that's an illusion. It's a dream, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to point out.
You had a whole video about you don't exist, and that how people come to these meetings to be told they don't exist. And I was wondering if you could say more about that. What does that mean? Like, you don't exist?
Right. Well, of course, like anything, it doesn't mean anything. But I mean, you, me, the one who's here as me, is exactly the idea that I exist. So I have no way of experiencing I don't exist. So you can't tell the me that you don't exist. It doesn't fly at all. It doesn't even make sense, because the whole experience of me is basically the story that I exist. It's the experience, the reality that I exist. And that creates this whole kind of alternate dream of an existence and a life that's separate from me. I exist, and this separate thing, this world exists. And there's a relationship, and there's things that I can know about it all, right? And to exist as me is to be in this state of needing, of being in a story and needing to have experience to get completed, you know, to get what I need, because it's a feeling of I exist and there's something not quite right about this all, you know? So, but that doesn't mean that in some scientific technical term, you don't exist, like some philosophical truth about what is. You know, there isn't anything like that. We can't say, and who knows what it even means to exist, right? What does that mean? Well, it means something within the experience and the story of me. All these words, you know, what exists, what doesn't exist, what is real or what isn't real, what you know, and then all the other stuff, what's good and what isn't, what has value and meaning and what doesn't. All of that stuff comes from, you know, this from being, having actually claimed in the first place to, well, claimed or just have the experience that I do exist. I'm real. This is real. All of this is real. And then that's where all these other ideas come from, you know. They make sense in terms of somebody who's here and who's real and who's limited and is separate from my experience. Yeah, anyway.
Hmm. So what is this word, appearance? I hear
Yeah,
appearance a lot in non-duality.
right.
So do you use the word appearance sometimes?
Oh yeah. Well, sure. I mean, we use all the words. I was just thinking this actually this morning that we really do need to get working on making up some new words, or making up some actual, I don't know, words that actually, because we have these same words, like appearance and just this, what is, you know, and or yeah, but so we use this word appearance. So because, well, what is an appearance? Appearance is what is showing up, I guess. What is here as it shows up. But appearance is a word that to differentiate that from like what we were talking about before, the just this or the sort of natural reality of things. In other words, whatever appears, well, so we usually default to saying, well, it's actually nothing. So it's nothing, which is also everything. Again, these words, but it's nothing appearing as an appearance. So the appearance is the thingness of it. It's so we can talk about, we can describe things and say what they are, but what we describe and what we say things are, whatever it is, a house, a person, an experience of my day. These are all descriptions, but they don't have anything to them. And that's why we call it an appearance, because there's nothing there except for the description. But the me, I mean, the reason that's so important, or not that anything is important, but the feeling of me is the exact opposite, because the feeling of me is that no, this appearance is actually real, and there's something to it, there's substance, and it is what it is, and it's not, there's that feeling of somehow heaviness to the story.
Mm.
So this, in other words, the story that I tell about it is what it actually really is, and I am experiencing that, and that is, that's what becomes reality. But it misses the fact that it's an appearance,
Yeah.
so that nothing isn't noticed. And so how it ends up is that there's a feeling of really being controlled by my experience, and that's where we could bring in a couple other words like freedom.
Yeah.
That freedom is, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the funny thing is, it's there's a lightness to all this, but it's not because that it's nothing appearing as everything. It's not that because I know that, therefore, as like it's a philosophy of life, and that is giving me a feeling of lightness. But yeah, I don't know how to form that into a question, but it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
just talking about this is like, yeah, isn't that cool that there's no solidity to anything, and that it's the same no thing appearing as everything. And for some reason, the seeing of this did cause this character to take things a little lightly, or
Yeah.
not as heavy. You were talking about a heaviness that
Mhm.
comes with taking a story to be real and solid, and yeah. So could you talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so Yeah, I might say that really it's not that there's a lightness so much, but it's just that there is a heaviness, like I was saying, that comes from this other experience, this me experience. It brings a heaviness with it. It puts a heaviness over everything. It's a heavy, heavy experience.
Oh, so
There is,
the lightness is almost just the absence of the heaviness.
you could say that.
Yeah.
Um, and that heaviness comes from what you just said about knowing. You know, it comes with knowing. The idea that I know what anything is. I know what I am. I know what this is, and I know what to do. I know what I need to do, and I know what I need to know. That brings in this whole quality of heaviness. Well, it's heaviness because it brings in a job. You know, it turns all of this into a job, something to do, and something that I really need. You know, it's a heavy job. You know, because my everything depends on that. You know, it's like I can't even leave the job. I can't. It's a job. It's a slavery, really. It's like it's more than a job. You know, and that's pretty heavy. That is heavy. But it all comes from this idea that I know. Because, I mean, why would I even think about knowing? Even get the idea that I know anything? I mean, actually, you know, without this me imposing its structure on everything, you might not ever get the idea that there's anything to know. Like, why would you even think about knowing? You know?
Yeah.
It comes with the idea that, or there's just the feeling that I'm here and I know. Yeah, the knowing comes with it, but it all comes, it's all part of the experience that I'm not enough. There's something else that I need.
Mm.
And now I need to know, obviously, because what else, how can I, because I have this job of getting what I need. So you know, I need to know what's what then.
Yeah. Seems that knowing is a burden.
Yeah. So that's why we end up talking about freedom all the time. That's another word that I mean, who would even think about freedom? Like, you know, I don't think birds think about freedom, right? Or, you know, animals. It's just humans, because the human experience of me, of being separate, feels like being in a cage and you know, enslaved to this job of getting free. Yeah, but there just is freedom. So now we're back to the just this.
Yes.
But it's not really freedom. It's just no restriction and no label and no knowing.
How about meaning and purpose?
Yeah, so there's that's another kind of another word for the job. I mean, you know, the job is to find meaning and find purpose and get more of it, more meaning, more purpose. And of course, I need to know what is meaningful and what isn't, and what has purpose and what doesn't, because I'm doing this job of, you know, getting whole, getting complete. But again, I would say all those words about all those ideas of meaning and purpose, they're just equipment. They're equipment for the job, but there isn't anything. There's nothing separate here, right? There aren't, and there's nothing known here. There's nothing that we know that would tell us what has meaning or what has purpose until we make a story. In other words, you know, all of that stuff makes sense within the story. It has some kind of function in a story. but it doesn't really, it's not what's actually here, you know.
You said, I am the bind. I am the bind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there could be, there's nobody who is in a bind. There's no one who is in a cage, nobody who is a slave. But this feeling of being me is that feeling of being in a bind and needing to get out of the bind. Another way of saying what the job is, you know, like I was talking about as a job or as a story. So the story of me is, how do I get out of my bind? But there is no one who is in a bind. That me experience is the bind, which is why no one ever gets out of a bind. Me never gets out of my bind. It's never happened. It never can happen, because that me experience is that bind. It's the feeling that that there's a world here, there's an experience here, and I'm separate from it, and I need to get something out of it to get me out of my bind of feeling limited and separate. But it's all one thing. That's the thing. I am that. As me, I'm that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get out of my bind.
I am is the bondage itself. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. Wow. I wrote awareness, consciousness. Those words mean anything to you?
Okay. Yeah, we're hitting all the big ones here.
Presence. Yeah.
You always do. Well, right. Yeah. So that's funny. We were talking a little bit before we started recording about this, how it's just so funny. I mean, in so-called non-duality, you know, the topic in the speaking about it, there seem to be like these different teams or different, you know, are you a consciousness person, or are you a nothing person? Or, you know, are you a compromising sort, or are you, you know, radical and uncompromising? And, you know, and in the language of it, it tends to be that if you see things in a very radical, uncompromising way, then you don't have any consciousness and awareness and all those words that the other folks, you know, think are important. You know, you just say that's nonsense, because, you know, which makes there's a good reason to do that, because awareness or consciousness or beingness or presence, like you say, which a lot of people, well, traditional kind of spiritual approaches tend to make a lot of that, and maybe so-called less radical non-duality might say everything is awareness or everything is consciousness. But you asked me what I think about it. It's a problem the problem with consciousness or awareness or these ideas, presence, is that the me is tending to make objects out of everything. That's what the me experience is. I experience everything as an object, because me is basically trying to use my experience to do the job. So when I hear as me, when I hear this thing, awareness, there's a tendency to make that into an object that I'm now going to get, or I'm now going to, you know, so there's a lot of sort of spiritual practices about, you know, abiding as awareness, or becoming, you know, awareness, you know, as if awareness is something else that I could be, you know, abide as, or, you know, and this kind of, and that's, you know, so that's why people, you know, will often say that's a lot of nonsense. But then on the other hand, awareness is, to me, it's just another word. So, it's not like in radical non-duality, we have these words nothing or emptiness or no thing. Well, you might just as well call it consciousness or awareness or beingness or presence, because it's all the same thing that doesn't have a word for it, So I'm not that when I hear these different words, I don't get upset about anything, because I think we're just all trying to talk about nothing, or about this thing that doesn't have a word to it. So whatever works, I guess, is what I would say.
Well, there is something interesting about, like, you could say that the lights are on, or even in the most radical, we'll say what's apparently happening. So there is something is apparently happening. So it's that apparent happening that fascinates me. It's not the no thing. It's actually the fact that no thing is being everything, that there is an apparent happening, and there seems to be an experience. Even though there's no one here experiencing, but there is an experience of life. And that's the fullness, that's the beauty. If it wasn't for that, there'd be nothing worth getting on Zoom and talking about.
Exactly.
So yeah,
get rid
can
of
you
that.
talk about this experience, this fullness, the richness of this?
Yeah. You can't get away from you can be as non-dual as you want, but it's still all it's duality is what's here, as an appearance, as you say, is this, we're having a conversation right now. And there is nobody having a conversation, and it's not a conversation, and there's no Zoom meeting and no anything. That's all true, but it's also all appearing. And that's also true. And there really isn't any language to actually explain how all of that is happening, or to make it clear, or to even say, what is dual and what is non-dual, and there is no what is. So, but there is language, and there is talking about it. And some people would say, well, there's the paradox. And then somebody else will say, well, no, there isn't a paradox. So we're back. But I think the point, though, is that there is I don't know, somehow I was going to use the word value. So there's another one of these problem words, because I already said that there's no value, or there's no meaning, and all of that. But there is a kind of value just within the paradox of it all, in pointing to the bind, the confusion that this me experience, is up to, and this tendency to reduce everything to something that I know, in other words, a word, a description. Oh, okay, that's what is. So, we can still use the words, and we can still, talk and be here and have conversation, but it doesn't imply that anything is actually happening, right? Or that there's any implication to anything, or that there's anything coming out of this. It's play.
Yeah.
But how can there's no play without stuff, without appearances, right?
I like the word mystery.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because mystery is, not a thing that you can say, oh, it's a mystery. Even nothing is feels like could be something.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is something. It is something to the mind or the me. So the me exactly, it can't get to nothing, because like nothing comes in, you know, uh, to the me's perception. It's automatically as something, because the me experience is just seeing everything as something,
Hmm,
because I'm something and everything is something.
right.
And there's also this, like I'm saying, there's already this job going on, this machine that is looking for the answer and looking, to do the thing of getting the thing that I need to make me complete. So I have to see everything as something, because nothing is totally useless for that. I have no use for nothing.
Yeah.
So automatically I see everything as something. And then I'm looking for that. What can I know about it? You could say that's what something is, actually. Something would just be nothing, only in the form of something that I can know. I can say, oh, it's that. It's that something. But really, there's just nothing until it's translated into the language of me, which turns everything into something.
Hmm.
Anyway.
I wrote this down. No one can do anything. Um, yeah, so I guess you're talking about that there's no doer. When I
Well,
see anything,
yeah,
yeah,
man, it would be great for me if I could do something. I mean, that's the whole irony of all of this. I mean, me, in my experience, I'm just trying to get this done. And I'm just trying to, I'm trying to do something with this life, with this moment that I'm living. I'm trying to do something, and it never works because there isn't anything and there's no one to do it. There is just that operation can't happen. That's based on an idea of being separate from things, that there's somebody here that can do something with something. That's the world of the me. It's an imaginary world. But what you just said, there's no one who can do anything. But yeah, man, that's the fantasy of the me, is that so me is disregarding all this stuff that we're saying. It's saying, no, forget nothing, forget forget there not being anything. There's something here, I can do something with it, and the race is on. So it's ignoring the fact that that's all fantasy and imagination, and it ain't never going to happen.
why do you suppose that is? I've heard you talk about that the me can't hear this, or this can't be heard by the me.
Yeah, well, it's for all what I've been saying. The me, it's sort of like the ears of the me are set on exclusion, have an exclusion setting of anything that's going to go against my experience, that everything is something, everything is knowable, I'm a knower, and I'm here in this separate world with this task of getting free, or getting what I need, feeling the need. So anything that goes against that, it just can't hear. It doesn't come in. It's just like I'm colorblind to that notion. Well, of course, because it would kill me. It would be the end of me to say, now I forgot what actually, what was your,
Well, I was just saying, I heard you mention that this can't be heard by the me.
can't be heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the whole non-duality so-called message cannot be heard because, well, yeah, because it kills the me. It's the message that me isn't here. And as me, all I'm trying to do is survive and be me and
So
be real.
the me is fighting for its life. but it's not even.
Oh, Walter,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need, I need to plug in my, my charger.
Oh, okay. Do you need me to
So-
pause or?
Yeah, let's just pause and I'll be
Okay.
back.
All right, recording in progress. Where did we leave off? Did I ask you? I wrote down everything is utterly
We
hopeless.
left off talking about nothing and trying to find 10 different ways to say nothing.
Well, that I was just saying that when it wasn't recording, that I think all these questions are the exact same
Yeah.
question, just written in different ways. But so
You
on
just let
that
the cat
note,
out of
yeah, I did. Hopeless. Everything is utterly hopeless. I wrote down. Can you talk
Okay,
about? Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. So that's another thing. We were just talking about what the me can't hear. That's another thing the me will never be able to hear. So, and well, okay, that's in a way, that's what the whole message is, the so-called message, is that this is all hopeless. And the me is actually just the activity of hoping. This, it's another way, well, seeking is what the big word, is used, but it's seeking is hoping. And it's looking for what I don't have and what I need. And there's always sustaining that is the hope that will happen. That's the story of me. And that is what all the stories are. It's all about hoping. And the hope is something that's going to come in the next moment, right? So that me world is all in time. It has already divided everything into now and then and now and the next moment when that thing that's not here will be here by all of my efforts. But that ain't what's going on. What's going on is hopeless. There isn't any time where anything could happen. In other words, there's not a future where some other thing can come and be, and this can be something else that it isn't right now. So the me lives in this separated reality of, this experience that I'm having now is missing something that will come, that I'm hoping and, trying and, working I'm doing everything that I'm doing in the hope that things, this experience will change to be what I need it to be and to give me what I don't have and to have things be the way that, that they're not. But what actually is doesn't have any of that hope. It's just what it is. There isn't anything else. So it's hopeless in that sense. There's nothing else available. So whatever I'm hoping for as me, it's never going to be anything other than just what actually it just is. And so me, it is the idea that there's two things here. There's what is, and then there's what could be, what might be, what needs to be. But that's what actually is just what is without any hope and without any, because it's never going to be anything other than it is.
Yeah.
So there's no need for hope, except that me is the hoper.
I was just thinking about that word, supposed to. Like someone says, oh, it's supposed to rain today. Yeah. According to who? Oh, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just
right,
it's gonna do what it's gonna do.
yeah, but that's this totally natural thing for me to do is, to talk about what it's supposed to be, because as me, I know how things are supposed to be. I know what is, and I know what's supposed to be and what should be and what, what would be better, what would fix this from being the way it is to the way it could and should be. the me walks around with all that stuff 24/7. That's my experience. And if I don't, again, hopeless, pops that balloon immediately. That whole business of what should be and what can be and what I can do, to get involved in all of this goings on to help it be what it should be, which again, that's the me experience. But it's not, it's just what it is. It's just this as it is. And there's no hope in that.
Right.
There's no story of changing, to better or to worse, or moving from here to there. But that's what the me can't ever see.
It's just
And
the absence of hope.
yeah,
It's not like a bleak, depressing thing, hopeless. It's
well,
just,
no,
it's just always the immediacy. There's no hope. How can there be any hope in this?
I need hope as me because I'm searching, and the hope is that I will find what I'm searching for. But the hopeless is just the statement that there is no search. There's no search.
Yeah.
If you don't have a search, you don't need any hope, right? The idea of needing hope came from the idea that I'm on a search, right? I hope I'm going to find it.
Only a
There's
me
nothing
could be
missing.
on a search, right?
I'm sorry. I was
So
talking.
I'm sorry, only a me could be on a search.
Oh, exactly. Well, the me is the search. So
Like,
where's the need for hope? Again, you wouldn't even think about hope. You wouldn't even know the idea of hope if you didn't have that search going on first. And the search isn't going on. That's the whole point. There is no search and there's no searcher. So there's no hope.
like this is the appearance of a search, or this is an appearance of hope or hopelessness. But there really is neither. So I wrote, how do you behold the mystery? I think you said something about beholding the mystery, which I thought was a beautiful phrase.
Oh, okay.
Not that you have to answer the question, how do you behold it? That's unanswerable. There's no one to behold the mystery. But
All right.
when there are times, when I just find myself in awe of the mystery and just, you could say this character is just sort of
Mm-hmm.
basking in the mystery a little bit. Can you say anything about beholding the mystery or what that means?
Yeah. Well, it's just a poetic phrase, right? But yeah, I mean, you could say that's what there is to do here. I mean, that's what we're doing. There's just the mystery and there's just the beholding of it, which is like what? Entertaining it, holding it. I don't know. I mean, that brings in, there you go, is your idea of appearances. There's an appearance of someone who can behold a mystery, but actually there just is the mystery. And the beholding the mystery is the mystery. And the mystery is also the beholding of it. It's not separate, but then part of that mystery is that the appearance that there's a person, who can hang out and talk about the mystery, and we can share the mystery together and, inquire about it and describe it and paint it and all of that. But there's just the mystery. But it includes the beholding, because in a way, the mystery just by itself, without anyone beholding it, kind of isn't not the complete picture. Like we were saying before, the appearance is part of it all. And that's the mystery too, because how could that even happen? How could you explain how you could have a mystery with seeing itself,
Yeah.
or dancing with itself or whatever?
Yeah.
But that's what it is. apparently.
Well, this is an odd question, but it happens
Sure.
to be something I wrote down. I don't know. What is success in life?
Okay, well, yeah, that's good too. Um, that kind of goes back to the better and worse stuff, you know, and the meaning and purpose stuff, because, um, yeah, well, okay, success and failure. All of those things are generated out of from this idea of I'm here and I know what's going on, and I'm, you know, this separate person having this separate life experience. And that experience of being me is, you know, as we're saying, it's um, it's a on a mission, in a sense. You know, the story of me is on a mission to do what? To, well, be successful, but successful at what? At at well, we can say becoming whole, or becoming complete, or becoming happy. I don't know, all these words that we could use. What is it that this me person is looking for? Okay, so success comes in. Well, success in life really is just the answer to the seeking. You know, in other words, it's the success means I'm getting what I'm looking for. And of course, in normal, you know, the way we normally talk, we would say, well, I'm just trying, I want to be happy, I want to be peaceful, I want to be, you know, whatever. You know, people would say that in different ways. So, you know, success in life would mean I'm getting that stuff. But that, what it actually means is I'm finding what I'm seeking. So success in life means the seeking is ended, right, with my success, which ain't part of the plan, because that can't happen. Because back to the I am the bind, I am the seeking, I am the looking, and the thing that's missing is also part me as well. So I'm never going to find that. I'm never going to get the success in the story. But then ordinarily in life, you know, if you talk to somebody, you know, on the street and say, well, are you being successful? And, you know, how's it going? How's this life thing going? People they don't see it to the core of things, you know. They stay at that level of story. I'm just saying that's just the way that the me experience is. So that goes back to the fact that the me can never hear this. It can't see that there isn't any success in those terms. It can't see that whatever is I'm looking for can't ever be found, because it's not here.
Yeah.
It's not an object, right? It's not something that's going to show up or that I'm going to get, because it's this already. So the answer to what is success in life, again, just this.
Yeah.
The real answer.
I was thinking when you were talking about how some point it dawned on me that I guess you could say the me, since that's what we're saying, creates problems and then looks for solutions. And it's this vicious circle of creating problems and looking for solutions.
Absolutely. That's life. That is the experience of me. That's what life is for me.
Um,
Talk about the endless loop or the hamster wheel. Yeah.
all right, here's something different. What is time?
Well, time is well, it's a description of how things are in a story. I mean, I guess it's a feature of how things appear. we said we have these words to describe how the appearance is, how it shows up, and how it acts, or how it's how it moves, how it is. So time is one of those things. Space is another one. And yeah, it's just a way of telling. You can't have a story without time, right? You can't have a dream without time. So time is just a quality of how things appear, but nothing is really appearing, right? Except the appearance. It's just an appearance. So time actually doesn't have any reality. It's just a way of describing what appears. So there's other things like that. Relationship. There is no thing called relationship. Relationship is a way we describe how objects are how they appear. We say objects relate to one another, or people relate to one another, and stuff like that. It's just a way of telling the story. It's part of the language of being able to talk about what's appearing. But having language for something doesn't make it real. So just having a word, time, doesn't make there actually be something called time, and there isn't. And we have all these ideas of before and after, and cause and effect. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So we couldn't tell the story without cause and effect, right? There was no cause and effect. There really wouldn't be any way to say what's going on. So we have these ideas that make it possible to tell the story, and to have an experience that is an appearance.
Yeah.
I hope I'm passing all these.
No, I it just makes me think about, like, sometimes when you hear about, let's say, law of attraction or something like that,
Yeah.
I see that reality is created through this naming of things, and you can see how you just said that we created time, space. I mean, not a we or not an
Yeah,
I, but this is how this world is created through this process that you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I make the connection with sort of that message, is
Yeah.
not that I can get a car by putting pictures of it in my living room, but I think just in general, this entire life, this entire world, this entire universe, I mean, those are just words, concepts. We created all this. We made all this.
Right. And nobody can say what that is, how that happens, or really the mechanics of it. When you get to the nitty gritty of how is this actually happening, nobody knows. We can tell stories that have a certain amount of explanation, that explain a certain amount, in a certain way, which is what science is about, right? Explanations for how things are working, and it makes sense, and it does work, in a way, to a degree, not totally, right? Because nothing really can really explain everything. But within the story, these explanations do work. And law of attraction is another one. I mean, law of attraction is kind of just another level of the same thing that we're doing when we talk about science. Laws of gravity, laws of whatever. So certain ones, we're pretty agreed upon that kind of they work. And then law of attraction, maybe we're not quite sure whether that works. But I mean, it's really the same thing. It's just, or the same, the idea that, if you have a certain certain intensity of intention, you can produce an effect, and which of course is very similar to the idea of magic, right? That's kind of what you normally call magic, is means, you want to do something and then you make it happen, but you can't explain the mechanism, right? If you could explain it, then it would be called science. So law of attraction is kind of in that thing too, but it's really not anything different. I mean, a law of attraction, you could say, well, if I'm attracted to building muscles, maybe I'll go to the gym every day and the muscles will appear. It's kind of the same thing, but only in the story. In terms of what actually really is just this, the reality, there's nothing happening. It's only happening in the story.
And it seems like the story is being written, I don't know, like it's just crazy to think about, that things are thoughts, essentially. And,
right.
And who knows where thoughts come from? I don't know.
Exactly.
So
and who knows where thoughts come from? Who knows what thoughts are? What is a thought?
yeah.
Who knows? It's a piece of language.
Yeah, I guess these are the things when I say like being in awe of the mystery, like these kinds of questions can really, I don't know, make me just sit in silence and just, so you,
I just want to say,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The mystery is really just what you have left when you take away the idea that I know, which is a totally imaginary idea, this off the wall notion that I know anything or can know anything, right? Which of course is the me. The me needs to know. If you take away the knowing from the me, that you don't have a me anymore. So the me is just a knowing machine in a way. But if you take the knowing away, take away the idea that, oh, I know what that is, you're just left with the mystery. And that's what, now we're back to just this.
Yeah.
So just this again is just what's here without the labels and without the knowing and without the idea that I can use what's here. Mystery is just here and it's not usable. But yeah. And the knowing just clouds that over. The knowing makes it not, it disguises the mystery, makes it seem like something called reality.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, sorry about what?
Oh, I don't know. I interrupted your next question.
No, I was lost in the mystery and enjoying your
you can't get out of the mystery.
what you had to say about it.
Well, in a way, that's funny, and I keep getting out of the mystery is another way of saying what the me is all about. It's trying to get out of the mystery, because the mystery is not, it's intolerable to me. I can't be with the mystery. I need to know what it is because I need to get my job done, and I can't do anything with the mystery.
Mm.
So the me is really just running from the mystery. That's what the me is. But of course, there is no running from the mystery. So that's why we can see there is no me. That's just a imaginary activity.
Well, so of course, this is another story. But I could say that it seems like this is more of a settling into the mystery rather than escaping from it like you're describing. It seems like more like you make a home in the mystery.
Yeah, you could say it that way, except that the non-duality police are going to come in and say, well, you can't settle into the mystery. There is no one to settle in, and there's no settling in because there only is the mystery. And there, so,
But
that's,
I think that would destroy all poetry if we're not allowed to have a little leeway.
well, yeah, I
Uh,
agree. I tend to agree with that. Yeah, you can only take this non-duality, uh, uncompromising stuff, so, up to a point.
Got to be some nuance and some
Yeah,
loose language in terms of Paul
right.
Morgan Summers calls it drunken language, or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I love Paul.
a drunken conversation, because it's all
Right.
paradoxes. None of it really makes sense. So if I say there's no me, but then I said I did something, it's not, like, I mean, we're just,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it,
yeah.
or that I'm settling into a mystery or something like that.
Right.
Uh,
No, no, yeah. I was just being.
oh no, I feel the same way. I think there's many ways this is being expressed. Um,
Yeah, but it actually brings up this other thing, which I don't know. I tried to mention a little bit before, but because like we have this uh, radical way of talking, the Tony Parsons, way that we all love and are very happy, comfortable with, and is very clear. But then you have the other kind of side of the river, which will, uh, offer a practice, the so-called teachers. And then we could say, in a way, almost all of that is sort of a practice for relaxing into the mystery, or whatever. How did you say it? Settling in, settling in.
making a home in mystery. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you said settling in, which
Oh, I don't know what I said. Yeah.
I think you did. So, in a way, all those practices are, well, okay, we need to settle into the mystery. So here's how you do it,
Oh,
the
exactly.
guru and do all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, yeah. And but so of
But
course,
that's retrofitting. Like, what I'm saying is, it seems like that happened after the so-called shift.
okay, that's good.
But
Okay.
it wasn't settling in the mystery is not a way to get to
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
It seems
But
like that's
you just talked yourself out of non-duality jail there. So, I'm saying we could say it that way. We're not prescribing. We're just describing, maybe giving a description for, maybe a poetic description for what it is.
well, apparently is kind of like allegedly, like,
Right. Well,
so,
that's another, like, get out of jail free.
exactly.
But actually, what I was starting to say, though, so of course, from a clear non-dual point of view, you would say, um, you know we'd wrinkle our nose and uh, at all of this teaching business. Anybody who's gonna provide a teaching to how to settle into the mystery, we're gonna say that's all a bunch of story, and it's just more more work for the me, and doesn't really make any sense. But actually, I don't necessarily go there. I kind of, I think the mystery can include, you know the idea of somebody who settles into the mystery, or has a project, has takes that on as something to do. It's, well, we'd say that that's what happens. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, I don't say there's no value in that, because I kind of, I would say, if that makes sense, then that's great too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think meditation and it's like everything is it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's something that is bringing joy or peace or calmness or adding to your life, I mean, why would anyone discount that, or
Mhm.
make light of it? It's,
Yeah,
I think it's all good.
right.
I think, as the saying goes, like everyone is fighting a hard battle, you know?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean,
you never know what people need,
yeah, yeah.
what works for people, what is actually keeping them sane.
Yeah, and I think what we're both trying to say is that, yeah, okay, sure, there's a big misunderstanding that comes along with all of those ideas, because it's a misunderstanding that there's somebody who isn't it, and that I can get, I can become it, I can get it, by doing some sort of something or listening to some sort of teaching, you know. So there's a big problem with that in a way, because there is a big misunderstanding that can come from that. So
Well,
we say that,
there's no it to get. It's already,
yeah,
well, I mean,
right. But
I
I'm
don't think
sorry.
there's a cause. Do you think there's a cause? Like, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but did you have some sort of experience that, like, seeing of non-duality, or however you want to put it,
Yeah,
awakening?
okay, that's a good question. We've been avoiding that one.
I never asked that, oddly enough, but just as a
Yeah,
way into, like, I want to know about what your thoughts on cause and effect in this way.
yeah, yeah,
Does a practice lead to awakening?
right. Yeah, good. Okay, well, I wanted to finish the other point that I was kind of making, which was that I think both of us, because I had just kind of was pointing out, yeah, there's a problem with this teaching business and the practicing, that there is a problem there. So it's good to kind of recognize that it's just more me story in a certain way. So, let's notice that. But I think both you and I were very hesitant to exclude all of that, like you were just saying. I just wanted to, finish up with that idea that I just really feel naturally I want to include it all. I want to include Muji and Rupert Spira and all, these ideas that do tell a story of getting there, you know, in a way. Because all the stories end up at nothing anyway, which I think you were kind of saying that too. So I just wanted to, make the point that I think we both look at we want to include it at everything. There's no reason to draw these lines and mark off territory and say, you know. Um, so the question, yeah, I don't really talk that much about experiences of awakening or shifts or I mean, I could tell my story of a certain amount of that, but in a way, um, but yeah, the answer to cause and effect and does anything we do have any relationship to being so-called uh, becoming free or dropping the me or whatever that is? Does that even happen? Which is kind of your question, right? Yeah. Um, I mean, I think any way we talk about that just immediately goes back to the mystery. And so, because there clearly are experiences. I mean, even just now, we're having a conversation. It's happening in time when we're, you know, there's a certain thing happening from it. There's some kind of, it's causing something, in a story, right? Maybe there's some understanding that's coming out of this, maybe for both of us. Maybe there's there's something that's happening from it. So there is an effect of this. So And that's true in one way. And then in another way, there's nothing happening because there isn't anywhere to go. We're never going to get to anywhere but just this. And all the stories are just stories. They're just going to stay as stories, right? So, I don't know how to talk about it except to both and, there is a difference. There's a difference between, being free and not being free. And that, let's be honest about it, right? We wouldn't be here talking if there was no difference. And in that sense, there's someone who's free and someone who isn't. But that actually isn't the case at all, because there are no people, and there's no time, and there's just this. So that's that same mystery. And that's the best I can do right now.
Well, that's beautiful. That's a great place to end. Dan, is there anything you want to say before we hit the end button?
No, I mean, this has been more fun than I than I might have expected, and not that I expected anything, but I think both of us just really love talking about this stuff,
Yeah.
and it's such a pleasure to do. And in a way, it's kind of a guilty pleasure, not really, but like in terms of,
We could be up to worse things than talking about non-duality on YouTube.
well, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on your perspective. But it is a kind of a taboo thing, in terms of our normal culture, normal things that people get up to, talking about what is dangerous business. But anyway, yeah, no, this is great.
Well, thank you, Dan. It was a pleasure.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, so everybody check him out on YouTube. He's got a great channel. And I really enjoyed watching your videos. It's good stuff.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. All right, man.
All
I'll
right.
see you around. Take care.
Okay, talk to you
Okay.
soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.